Hello and welcome on in, everybody, to the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Sam Peterson, and this is week two of these Photoshop challenges. If anyone's new to this, these challenges are 2 weeks total, Monday through Friday, 30 minutes each day at this time. And then the following 2 weeks are actually going to be replays of these, and it basically gives you a month overall to work on these. So if you're watching these streams and it says Creative Encore down at the bottom, that means this is a replay. The chat will still be live. But that essentially gives you, 4 weeks to work on these challenges. And during those 4 weeks, feel free to post them in the Discord at any time for the current challenges. But let's jump into the landing page. So if you're new to these challenges, I can show you how to join. Also good to see everyone in the chat. Another fun week ahead of us. I'm excited for today's challenge. I'm hoping this may be something new for a lot of you. Bruce, Annika, Carol, Valder. I saw Wade Cuff in the chat. Steve, Sean, Chris, Monica, Frank. Everyone's in the chat. RB, good to see you as well. So let me show you how to join these challenges if you have not seen them yet. This is the landing page over at behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. So if you go here, you'll see a big blue button at the top. You can click that to register. And if you scroll down, you'll actually see all the challenges for these. So if you're watching the Creative Encore replays, you'll see that all of these are revealed. But today is day 5. So this is fancy text. We're going to be talking a little bit about using actions and kind of an unorthodox method for text that some of you may have seen, some of you may have not. But I don't know if anyone in the chat actually uses actions or has used actions in the past, but I'm hoping this can kind of be a very simple way to introduce you to the concept and kind of show you how it works in a pretty straightforward, simple way. It's not as complex as it might sound. Hey, Betty, welcome on in. Good to see you. So this is the landing page. Check out the Discord if you'd like to post your designs. We have Mercurial's designs right here. I just saw this. I love the colors. And this, like, the way it's stylized, the fur is really cool. Great effects. And then we have the perspective challenge we did. I really like this. I like what you did with the texture. So if you want to check them out, you can see all the designs that people are posting for these challenges. There's also the Ask a Question section and the Design Other if you want to post your own stuff that isn't related to these challenges. There's a Past Challenges section if you want to post anything from previous DCCs. So definitely check it out if you haven't been to the community Discord yet. Lots of awesome designs. I've really been excited to see everything everyone's creating. Valder is our mentor. Ted is a mentor, doing feedback, giving feedback. So this is a great place to get feedback and give it to others if you have anything you want to share, compliments or constructive feedback or anything like that. So definitely check it out. And today we're going to be jumping into Photoshop like we always do. And we're going to be creating this kind of effect. So this is what we're going for here. This kind of 3D looking effect. You can see there's some lighting information to really sell that 3D effect. And we're actually going to be doing that using actions. So that should be pretty fun. Like I said, if you're not familiar with actions, hopefully this will serve as a simple little introduction. So first off, we need to create text. I'll delete my text layer, but if you want to create some text, you can press T for the text tool over here. And then, like you saw, I'm just doing art. You can use whatever word you want, but I thought this would be a good little demonstration. Simple word here. So I think what I want to do is just create a gradient background or a different color background. I'm kind of going for bright colors here. You can use the fill bucket. You can use the gradient tool. If you're not familiar with the gradient tool, you can click the gradient up at the top left, and you can scroll through a lot of the default ones here. Pick something like that, or you can create your own. So I don't actually think I've named this one. I kind of like it. I'll put blue. Blue, and then you can create new, and it'll save that for you. So if you ever want to save your gradients, very easy. Just type a name, click new. You can create more colors by clicking down here. You can change the existing colors by clicking the boxes and then the color and changing that. And it'll change that part of the gradient. I'm just going to do cancel. And then I'm going to use this one. So with the gradient tool selected, just select the background. You can click and drag. You can hold on shift to kind of keep it straight up and down. Just give us a nice little gradient. You can actually kind of adjust it too by where you drag, where you stop and where you start. So something like that's kind of nice. Oh yeah, and this font, I don't know if anyone's asking. This font that I'm using is Cooper Standard. So I thought this was kind of a nice rounded edge one. You can experiment with different font types, but I think something with some nice curves looks pretty nice with this effect. So that's what I was going for. So what I want to do is kind of mock up what this effect will be ahead of time, because once you jump into doing this effect with actions, it's kind of hard to like tweak things finally and make changes without a bit more effort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this 3 times so that we have 4. Oh, I did the thing I thought I was going to remember. Let's move my body over here. So you can actually see my layers now. So we have our background layer, and then we have 4 text layers. So one is going to be the white top of the text, and then we're going to have 3 colors below it. So I'm just going to put white. We'll do yellow. We're going to do like a little gradient like you saw. Orange and red, because I like to name my layers. So I'm going to hide the white for now. And for the yellow, I'm going to go ahead and double click the layer here so you can see the layer styles, and we're going to do a color overlay. So I'm going to choose a yellow. Go for kind of a bright one here. That looks pretty good. We're going to take orange, move it down, and we're going to take the red and move it down. You can see they're all white right now, but we're doing this layered effect. And this is just a mock-up. This is not the effect that we're doing yet. But I want to kind of show you how you can just plan ahead. And also show you the difference of why this effect looks different than just adding strokes, for example, colored strokes. All right, so then I want to pick a red, maybe go a little darker. More of a natural red that doesn't seem so bright. And this way you can kind of pick your colors. You can see what it looks like in context. And if you don't like the color, you can change it easily and find that color you do like, because once we do this effect, changing the colors won't really be possible unless you want to do the effect over again. So this lets you see what all the colors look like together. And if you want to make any tweaks, you can do so. Let's go for a really bright yellow. So I can adjust it like that. And now I think, okay, that looks pretty good. I like this. Hey, Odari, welcome on in. Good to see you. Bye, Ola. Hello, hello, Gareth. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. All right, so now we got our mock-up. That looks pretty good. So I'm actually going to select all these layers. I'm holding on Shift and I'm clicking to select them all, and I'm going to do Control or Command G to group them. And I'm just going to call this mock-up. That'll allow me just to kind of keep this organized, keep it separate from all the other layers we're going to create, because we're about to create a lot of them. So I'm going to actually borrow this red, and I'm going to do Control or Command J to create a copy. I'm going to pull it out of this group and on top. So I'm just going to use that mock-up. So what I want to do first, before we get into the actions, before we get into the technique that we're doing today, I want you to double click the layer to get into the layer styles and go to bevel and emboss. Select that on, and we all probably have different settings, but if you go to reset to default, those are actually the settings that we're going to want for this. So just click the little reset to default for your bevel and emboss. That'll take it to 100% depth, size at 7 pixels, and so on. You can kind of see what's on my screen here, but the default is actually what we want for this technique. So now we're going to get into the actions. Let me show you how that works. Go to Window, and if you don't have them up, you can actually bring up any of the panels that you need. So actions is what we want. So we're going to create a new set of actions here. There's a folder icon down at the bottom to create a new set. I'm going to click that. I'm going to do repeat text. We're just naming it here. And I'm going to click OK. And then what I want to do is create a new action here with this little plus icon. But before we do, let's go into the windows and bring up properties so we can kind of see the transformation of the text we're going to be doing in space. So if you check this out, what we're going to be doing is duplicating this layer to the top left. And if you want to know what that looks like, you can just use your arrow keys or move it. But there's the X and Y axis here on the right hand side. So I'm not really sure, is moving it up and to the left, is that increasing the size, increasing the number, or is it decreasing the number? Well, I can just check, go up, make sure the move tool is selected. And when I move it up, it gets smaller. The number gets less. So now I know, okay, we need to lessen it 1 pixel. And then if we move it to the left, it also gets less. So I'm just checking that ahead of time so I know before we set this action what we want. So the key here is to move it up and to the left, and that's the direction I'm choosing, 1 pixel. And if you use the arrow keys, at least for me, it goes 2 pixels, which won't have the same effect. We want a smooth gradient, but you need it to be 1 pixel. So let's do that. With the actions and the properties window open here, I have my red text selected with the emboss, and I created the new set, and now I'm gonna create the plus icon for the new action. And I'm just gonna call this repeat, up, and left. So that's the 3 actions we're gonna be recording right now. So I'm gonna do record, and now I have my layer selected. I'm gonna do Control or Command J. You can see it just made a note for what we did. And I'm gonna make the, in the X and Y box here, I'm gonna make it 1 pixel less. So this would be 222, and this would be 316 instead of 17, which is it. And then hit enter. And now I wanna stop my recording. So now we're done. We got that repeat up and over thing going on. So let's see if it worked. If I hit play, it'll repeat that action as much as we need. So I can keep clicking it, and you can see it's loading this kind of extended effect. You just keep going. I'm clicking a little bit at a time. This can get kind of system resource intensive, demanding on your computer, just because we just created like 30 layers. So you can kind of like judge what thickness you want. I think maybe around 20 looked pretty good. So I'm actually just going to shift select some of those last layers and delete them until I get like a thickness that I like, or you can just stop clicking that play button at any point. But let's try like, yeah, something like that looks good to me. So hopefully that made sense. But let's keep this organized and leave the top layer, the very last one we created, leave that alone. Select the one below it, and then we're going to shift select all those layers up until the red one. And I'm going to, let's see here. Let me move this one out of the way. Oh, whoops. Select all those except for the last one. And then, all right. So I thought I missed one step there, but what you want to do from here is go ahead and you can rasterize the type. So click all those except for the top one. We want to keep that. Rasterize the type by right-clicking on it and do rasterize type. And then from here, we can merge them. So that's what I wanted to do. That's the key right there. So we have the one layer on top, but we want to rasterize all the ones that we want to merge and then go ahead and merge them. So now we have all our red. I can just name this red. And we basically want to repeat this for the other colors. So we have our mockup, which is really helpful for this because we can now select the yellow if we want it. So I want to change that top red layer that we kept into the yellow. So I can actually just select it from my canvas here if you can see it. Or you can check the hex code or anything like that, or just reselect the color if you just want to eyeball it. So I'm going to hide my mockup layer. And now we have our yellow layer. So we can just do the same thing again. We already have the recording for our action done. And so now you can just click play as many times as you want. I know that we created roughly 20 before, so we're going to be going somewhere around 40, but you can eyeball it too. That looks pretty good. And of course, if anyone has questions about this, if the actions are confusing or any step is confusing, just ping me in the Discord or one of the mentors, and we can help clarify that for you. But now I have a bunch of these layers. This top layer I want to keep again. I want to preserve that because I'll be turning that into our next color. I'm going to select the second from the top layer, go all the way down to the beginning of my duplicates and shift click. I'm going to now rasterize the type again, right click rasterize type, and then right click merge layers. So now we got our yellow, and I'm just going to name that. And then we're just going to kind of repeat this process. So I'm only doing 3 colors. You guys can do as many as you want. You can kind of do as many like of those stroke effects or make them as thin or thick as you want. But I'm going to do one more for the, actually, I blew it, guys. That was supposed to be orange. So let's do this again. Actually, let me see here. We'll go ahead and keep yellow. I think that's kind of cool. I actually want to try orange on the other side, so we'll switch it up a bit. That's kind of fun. I like that contrast between the yellow and the red. So for the last one, we're going to go ahead and click orange. So I'm going to bring up my mockup just to see if I can find that orange color, because I do like that. Duplicate it if I need to. There we go, so I can select it. And we'll go ahead and do a little color picking there. Click OK. And I can always delete this little backup I made just to color pick from. All right, so same thing. Select this layer. Just name it orange ahead of time. And click play on that record, or that action that we recorded. Again, I was doing around 20 for this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm going to keep one on top. I'm going to preserve that last one, even though we probably don't need it, just in case I want to create any more. So I'm selecting all those orange layers I just did, right-clicking rasterize type once again, and right-clicking and doing merge layers. So now I can just name that orange, hide the one that we had, and from here we have a pretty cool little gradient effect. I think we're done with our actions for this design. You can see we have some nice dimension because of the bevel and emboss. And a pretty convincing 3D effect, even though this is really just layers being, moved 1 pixel up and 1 pixel over. So from here, I think I want to put my white text on top. I can go into my mockup or I can just create it, but we do have that white that we created, so I'm using some of these like little assets. I'm just going to do Control or Command J on that, pull it up to our current group or our current layers. And from here, I can use the Move tool, hotkey V, just to move it around. I want to hide that mockup folder so that's not in the way, and you can just kind of position it on top. I think that looks pretty cool. Let's see, is that the effect that we want? You can put a bevel and emboss on this as well, but you can kind of see the effect that we currently have is like this flat top. But you can try it. See how it rounds out the edges? It kind of fits it in with the material and the layers of the rest. So that's kind of a neat effect, but I like the sharpness, that sharp edge that it has right there. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so that is our effect. From here, you can really adjust it any way you want. Feel free to kind of play with these, do different stylized effects, but I think the key really here is to mock it up ahead of time, because you saw once we position things, it's hard to make changes. If you want to change colors, you have to redo the actions. If you want to change positioning, you kind of have to start it from the beginning, because the first layer will be the one on the very back. So planning ahead of time, I think, is wise with any designing, but especially with this, just because there's a little bit of a commitment. Granted, once you have the action recorded, you can use it anytime you want. It's saved to Photoshop, so you can, shut this down, come back another time and use that same technique. So if you ever have any repeated task that you're applying to every image, that's usually where actions come in handy. It really depends on what you're doing specifically that you would need to use that. I haven't had to use actions much really at all, But for techniques like this or anything where you need to apply the same treatment to multiple photos, it can be a really handy tool. So I'm going to go ahead and group this because I like to keep these. Final text. And like you saw, this is the difference between the mockup and the final piece. We have all that dimension from the bevel and emboss, that shading, but it allows you, actually I did the colors in a different order, but it allows you to plan this out ahead of time. You know, like these aren't connected in that 3D way, but it gives you the basic look of it. Like, okay, I like those colors, they work well together. I may want to go darker or lighter. And keep in mind when you're doing this, the final text is going to have a bit more shadow to it, a bit more darkness. So this one is a bit brighter, but because it's applying that shading effect, the final result will be a bit darker. So that's why I went kind of on the bright side here. You can see these are all really like intense and it's kind of almost a little bit much, but when you see the effect on it, it works pretty well. And from here, you can kind of do what we always do at the end of these challenges. You can go into adjustment layers. I always like to play with certain finishing layers. Curves or levels is always great. I personally prefer levels. I would actually be curious in the chat, who uses levels and who uses curves the bulk of the time? And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. But I'm just going to apply some adjustments here. If I want to brighten it up, you can click it, or sorry, you can clip it to your final text layer too. That's another handy thing to do, is to have these in groups. So if I want to apply this just to the group, I can right click it and do create clipping mask. So that keeps my background, but boosts this up. And I actually kind of like this. I can kind of increase the contrast by boosting these darks up here. So we have the two sliders. I usually like to brighten things because I tend to make things a little bit darker than I want. But this right slider here will boost the brights, and the slider on the left will boost the darks, just to give it a bit more contrast. And we can toggle that on and off, see how it looks. And it's small, but I think that looks good. I like how it brings the brightness up a bit. General Kenobi, good to see you. You say both. Marcia says curves. We got levels from Clarissa. Almost always curves. Curves. Okay, a lot of curves then. Both depends on what I'm doing. Yeah, I use curves from time to time if I need it specifically, but I don't know if I just got used to levels early on. Levels is a bit more simplified than curves, but I always seem to be able to dial it in to do exactly what I want. Levels if it's during the process, curves when I'm finishing an image. Interesting. I can do anything with this effect. I mean, this specific effect, like you can do a lot of things with actions, but this specific effect is really just creating this illusion, because it's 1 pixel up and 1 pixel over, that it's this smooth 3D shape. You see it has this pretty convincing, along with the bevel and emboss effect, of course. It has this convincing sort of dimensionality to it, even though there's no 3D being used. I mean, it's not even like a faux 3D effect within Photoshop. It's just kind of this fun little trick that you can do and get some really nice dimension and some really cool text, I think. So from here, I like the levels. That looks good. I mean, this is pretty much done as is. So I think we can just call it. But I just want to encourage you all, if you like your design, if you want to share it, if you want feedback, if you want to put it out there to the community, just join the Discord here, because we got some really awesome work being put down. So you can upload here, like I said, the challenge section. I just wanted to highlight some of these designs right now. Design Parker, this is great. I love this. Glowing effect in Photoshop. Yeah, it's really nice contrast. We got some of the cartoonify effect here with the simplified values. It works well. It's interesting to see this effect in grayscale too. The little pops of color with this sort of neon glow. That's really cool. Perspective match, nice. Yeah, I've been enjoying seeing what everyone's been putting on their box here. We got the robots. Got some playing with fire on a figure. That's really cool. By Umer, and then Stony was with that one. Janet with the flame effect here. I like it. I like that kind of like green effect you got too. Got some coming off his shoulder as well. And we got a lot of these pattern ones too. I've been enjoying seeing these. Joanna Dejenk, if that's how you say that. Really cool effect here. The flame effect around the skin almost looks like tattoos or something like that, which is kind of neat. So yeah, excellent job, everyone. Again, if you want to post here, We have mentors to give feedback, so feel free to ask for feedback if that's what you're looking for. I encourage you to give feedback to other people. It's always nice to see the community helping each other out, giving feedback and critique. And there's the ask a question section too. A lot of people helping each other out there, which is great. I love this. I love this sort of like poster design mock-up with this one. Really great pattern on the shirt. I like how you separated out the sleeves and then this part of the shirt. The colors are great. Really nice. Great masking with the sort of like demon skin effect too, to sesh happen. So yeah, great job everyone. I've really been liking these or enjoying watching you guys post all your designs, and I'll be in the Discord, so feel free to post, and I can check it out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. So we got 1 week, just a reminder, we got this last week, and then it's going to be 2 weeks of encore replays. So if you want to, take a little extra time to work on these, you'll have it. So thanks so much, everyone. I am out of time. I got to head out. I will see you tomorrow, and thanks for stopping by. See you, everybody.